So, are we going into World War III right now, or is this right here just another one of those, I don't know, border clashes that this time has gone just a little bit too far?
All of these guys have gathered and they are celebrating the liberation, and all these cars, they're all beeping as well in support.
The Israeli attack was made because we are perceived as being weak and ineffective, and with a really weak leader.
יאללה, בכל הכוח, תנו בראש! יאללה!
I have to tell you the truth. The racism of the Zionists.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Guys, a bit of a heads up in this video here. I was meant to release this video on Monday, but of course some things occurred and it was probably best that I waited until Tuesday to release it. The reason why is because anytime you have a situation like this, you need to allow all the data to come in before you go any further with something and before you decide to. Basically what I'm trying to say is that you don't want to shoot from the hip on this one. Now guys, I want you to go ahead and know right off the bat that this video right here will be out on Tuesday. It will also at the exact same time not be talking that much about the history because I was going to do some actual historical stuff on it one day next year in a video essay. But the thing is this right here. A lot of people are saying World War III, and a lot of people are out there, let's just say, their grift is pretty strong, or at least it was strong for about an hour, and then all of a sudden it kind of fell apart. One such individual, Ian Miles Cheong, who's made a living off of the grift, was actually community noted. Actually hilarious. I want to go ahead and get this out of the way first before we go any further. Ian Miles Cheong is somebody that I don't think anybody should try to, let's just say, pay attention to, period. This guy loves to get himself wrapped up in the U.S. politics, yet he does not live in the United States, has never been to the United States. He was properly community noted for his post, and that was actually a pretty brutal one, letting people know that he lives in a nation that's about 63 to 75% Islam or Muslim. He lives in Malaysia. So I don't think this guy is what we call credible at this moment in time. But then again, though, given everything that's going on, I don't think that the country needs to have a leader that just straight up walks off the stage.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, was there an intelligence failure in the lead up to this attack? Mr. President?
As I'm talking right now, we have 9 Americans that we know of that have been lost, and we have no idea how many more are going to be lost. Of course, we're assuming right now at this moment in time, given the information that we have, that, yeah, it looks like they are all tourists. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Why in the world would anybody be going to Israel at this point in time? This time of the year, Yom Kippur was just ended. I want to say that they're going through another holiday right now, Shabbat. I am not very good when it comes to Jewish holidays and stuff. This right here is mostly an off-the-cuff ordeal. I'm here to tell you what to expect. That right there is simply why this video exists. And normally these videos would go on Gear Issue 33, but of course, as you guys know, I have chosen to shut that video down until we get deeper into the winter, or at least to the start of next year, to start putting up those military movie reviews. Editing software, stuff like that right there needs to be kind of worked out. And I want to make these videos much, much better going forward, especially starting next year. So here's the deal. Right now, we're getting word that Hamas, they launched a massive attack into Israel. They went door to door. This is the word that we're getting right now. They went door to door, started kidnapping people, even including attacking an actual concert. It looks like the death toll right now has been ranging, and of course, these numbers do fluctuate. At first, it was reported that, or at least this morning, it was 260. Then out of the middle of nowhere, it came up to what? Like 800. Now it's much, much higher. And I'm showing you guys some stuff right here in the B-roll footage. Apparently, Israel is bombing the literal hell out of the Gaza Strip. Now, there's been some controversy online about some of these videos. Some people are saying that it's from different events that did not that are not in correlation with this one here. But then again, at the same time, I think just about everything that happens in that region has some form of correlation to it. So with that right there being said, let's go ahead and dive into this. So how in the world did we get here? Well, I'm showing you this right here. The Biden administration, a few weeks ago, decided that they wanted to give $6 billion to Iran in a prisoner transfer. The leading GOP candidate, by the way, gave some thoughts on this a few weeks ago. Let me go and roll this.
$1 billion ransom to the Iranian dictatorship in exchange for hostages. This is yet another Biden surrender and a further blistering humiliation of the United States of America to the world stage. But even worse, this decision will be extremely deadly. Biden is giving $6 billion to the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, just as when Obama sent the Iranian regime pallets of cash for hostages in the dark of night. Remember? Plane loads of cash. Biden's ransom payment will be immediately used to stoke violence, bloodshed, and mayhem throughout the Middle East and all around the world, costing countless innocent lives.
Of course, you've got people like, say, Anthony Blinken and the other guy, Kirby. Yeah, I'm just going to play these back to back for you guys. They're going out of their way to kind of spin this like they didn't see that Iran was going to do this, even though a lot of people kind of already know, given the history and given the nature between Israel, Iran, Palestine, Hamas, Hezbollah, Lebanon, all that type of stuff, Syria. Given the nature of Israel, I think people should have actually seen this one coming. But then again, though, I think once you hear this, I think we all know who we can blame on this one.
Iranian funds being unfrozen. But isn't it true that this frees Tehran up to spend more on other nefarious goals like supporting terrorism and boosting its nuclear program?
Well, to the degree that they continue destabilizing activities, and it's, I can't predict what they'll do going forward here, but we already have pressure in place on Iran, both through sanctions and through our military presence in the Gulf region. We won't hesitate to take additional actions as we see further destabilizing activity by Iran. But
critics say it frees up other funds for Iran to finance terrorism. The exiled son of Iran's last Shah calling history the best guide.
We saw what happened to the money that was released to the Iranian regime under the Obama administration. It went to further finance the regime's proxies in Syria and
Lebanon. We have reports that several Americans were killed. We're working overtime to verify that. At the same time, there are reports of missing Americans, and there again, we're working to verify those reports.
Is there any indication that Americans were either killed or kidnapped by terrorists?
Yes, we have reports that several Americans were killed. We're working overtime to verify that. At the same time, there are reports of missing Americans, and there again, we're working to verify those reports.
You honestly didn't think that Iran was not going to take the $6 billion and then turn right back around and say, look, this right here would actually be a good time to, I don't know, maybe pay off some people in the Gaza Strip. Maybe it'd be a good idea to pay off some people who live in that area to hit Israel. Maybe we might can do something, which I think is also kind of stupid too, because we're also hearing at this moment in time that Israel was given a bit of a heads up on this. And of course, you got the propaganda being rolled out there. Bibi Netanyahu going ahead and saying that we're going to war. And obviously, as you guys have already seen, Israel has already taken the proper measures to go ahead and go into the Gaza Strip. But then again, at the same time, you've got these people who love to simp for the Palestinians. Now, guys, I'm pretty sure if you've been subscribed to me for a long time, you already know where I stand on this one right here. I am always going to be America first, regardless of the situation. However, as anti-stupid wars as I am not exactly what we call anti-every single war. We got people calling for us to go into Israel, when in reality, I don't think that right there is actually going to be, let's just say, I don't think we're probably going to be doing that. However, I do believe that we should continue to arm an actual ally, unlike Ukraine, who, by the way, Zelensky's out there blaming Russia for this. I have no idea why he's doing that. And now we've got this word coming out that maybe the leader of Hamas is going to be visiting Vladimir Putin here soon. I hate to tell you this, but I don't think Vladimir Putin is going to be stepping in at this moment in time, seeing how it is that he's trying to wrap up things in Ukraine, which, by the way, is probably not going to get wrapped up for at least another year. So I think that these people are looking, let's just say that they're trying to get blood from a turnip when it comes to Russia at this moment in time. I do understand Bible prophecy. I do understand the book of Ezekiel. I do understand 38, 39. And I do know that the country of Russia is at some point in time supposed to arm these people and come down. I do not believe that this is the case just yet. Don't worry. I will talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the video, or I may even make a project on a much more expanded project on it. But I just figured I would go ahead and throw that out there. But it really doesn't help at this moment in time when you've got people like, say, I don't know, Mike Pence saying this crap.
This is what happens when we have leading voices like Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ron DeSantis signaling retreat from America's role as leader of the free world.
Typical response that you would get out of a GOP candidate that for whatever reason is attacking the administration that he was in, even though the administration he was in actually completely defunded Iran and their efforts against Israel while they were in office. Yeah, smooth move there, Mike. Not exactly. I mean, look, His career was already dead in the eyes of those who were on the right. But yeah, I would say it's officially buried at this point in time. But still, at the same time, when you see all these people waving these Palestinian flags in New York and all these idiots are out here simping for all this stuff, the people in Chicago talking about how good it was to see the Palestinians attack Israel, never mind the fact that Israel is literally about to kick everyone in that region out of the Gaza Strip, never mind the fact that Israel is, in fact, probably going to eradicate that little strip of land. It was not exactly what we call a smart move for these people to do this. The first step that Israel has actually decided to do is that they want to go ahead and cut off the supply of food and water. If you're reliant upon Israel for food and water, why in the world would you choose to attack them? And also something else, too, it does not look like Egypt, even though they have warned Israel about stepping in and getting involved. It doesn't look like Israel is too interested in helping the Palestinians out. I mean, last I checked, the only place these people can go if they get moved from Gaza is into the Mediterranean Sea or the Dead Sea. That's the only place they can go, especially if Egypt decides not to take them in. I mean, this to me, I think, was extremely stupid. I understand that $6 billion was given to Iran. They said, I think we're going to go ahead and use this. By the way, there's also some photos of a lot of these weapons being used that are actually M4s, which lets you know that we inadvertently, or maybe we intentionally, I can't say right now because of the way YouTube operates, we may have, in fact, actually supplied the attack on Israel. Yeah, not exactly very smart on our part, of course. If you've been paying attention and you realize that Obama was never exactly the most pro-Israel president in American history, was actually probably the least pro-Israel president in American history, given the fact that he decided to call the wall and occupied zone and all that stuff there. You know, he really went out of his way to anger the Israelis. But yet, for whatever reason, Jews here in the United States continue to vote Democrat. I have no idea why. If you want some additional receipts, you know what? I'm just going to let Mark Levin explain because it's a lot. And quite frankly, I don't have a script in front of me to read off every single thing.
No. I'll tell you this. Biden rebuilt the Palestinian war machine. They were all on their heels. That's why there wasn't a war when Donald Trump was president between the Nazi terrorists and the Iranian Nazi regime and the Israelis. And the Israelis today are paying with their lives. I told you, I'm not candy coating a damn thing around here, and I'm not going to. Now, what do I mean that Biden rebuilt the Iranian war machine? Well, the $6 billion is in this account, and there's going to be that account. Okay, forget about the $6 billion. Although the idea that a president of the United States would give $6 billion, or allowed to be given, to the Iranian regime that threatens the United States of America, that's unleashing holy Nazi-like hell on the Jewish people in Israel, and is threatening to get nukes, that's insane in and of itself. Iran's illicit oil exports hit 5-year high. Free Beacon, Adam Cradle. How is that possible? We have sanctions on their oil. How is that possible? Trump put sanctions in there. Well, Biden didn't exactly lift them, but he's not enforcing them. Listen to this. Iranian oil exports, a principal source of income for Tehran's cash-strapped regime, increased by 35% from 2021 to 2022. Gee. Who was president then, indicating that the Biden administration is not enforcing sanctions meant to prevent these sales. Oh, there's more. Get ready. I bet you haven't heard this all day.
I gotta say one more thing before I let this little rant of his go any further, and it's this right here. I've been hearing a lot of people on my side of the aisle, a lot of MAGA people scream and holler that Mark Levin is an old dinosaur and that he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. I think you guys need to lay off of Mark Levin because he's called a lot of the things that are occurring right now. He's called a lot of the stuff. He's been fighting it for a very long time, and while he is, of course, rough around the edges and a little bit aggravating from time to time, he does, in fact, know what the hell he's talking about. Let's watch some more.
Who was president then, indicating that the Biden administration is not enforcing sanctions meant to prevent these sales. Oh, there's more. Get ready. I bet you haven't heard this all day. Amid this uptick in Iranian aggression, the Biden administration has failed to enforce sanctions on Tehran's oil trade, which benefits China, Syria, Venezuela. Iranian oil sales stood at $44 billion as of August 2022, a 77% increase from Trump's last year in office, with analysis attributing the rise to President Biden's, quote, terminally lax sanctions enforcement. Although the Biden administration has been armed with the intelligence information to seize at least 6 illicit Iranian oil ships in recent months, it has detained 1 ship in the past year, likely to appease Tehran amid diplomatic talks to restart the 2015 nuclear deal. Biden has also provided sanction waivers, permitting Iran access to $10 billion that was frozen in Iraq. Oh, but that's $6 billion in that account and that account. Biden is funding Iran and rebuilt their damn military after Trump had it on its back. Let's be honest. Now, the fact is that sanctions relief to Iran is fungible. And Iran has been using these resources to go from, listen to this, America, this affects us, 2% enriched uranium and not installing advanced centrifuges under the Trump administration to racing towards nuclear weapons under Biden, becoming a nuclear threshold state enriching more than 60% enriched uranium, 2% to 60%. Can you imagine if the Iranian Tehran Nazi regime had nuclear weapons today? Because that's what's coming. And then Biden has secret negotiations with the Iranians. Congress can't even get access to the information other than 8 or so people. They keep saying, what are you negotiating? We need to know what's going on. And they keep pushing them away, pushing them away. I don't have to tell you anything, the administration tells Congress. Then they pick exactly the wrong guy, this guy named Malloy, to negotiate, who's sympathetic with the Iranians. And now, of course, he doesn't even have a classified...
I have no idea what a two-state solution would look like, but then again, at the same time, I'm pretty sure that it could in fact be a problem. But of course, we'll discuss that more in the video essay formatted video that I was going to do on the entire ordeal. Every single Democrat voter who voted for this and the libs who were out there on Twitter, and this where I also includes some people on the right as well who were screaming and hollering that Israel is killing women and children or whatnot. And while I do not condone that, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Did Israel not just take a beating by Hamas? Did Hamas literally I don't know, take a bunch of people hostage, kill a bunch of people, hit a concert, kill a bunch of innocent civilians? Did they or did they not do that? You see, I'm not condoning what Israel's doing. I'm not condoning what Hamas is doing. Obviously, I'm condemning Hamas. And obviously, I would hope that Israel would, in fact, be a little bit cleaner about the entire situation, but it is war. That is what happens, okay? It would not surprise me if Israel goes total war, which is really funny to hear a bunch of people who, quite frankly, have sent for Palestine the entire time suddenly get mad when the side that they have picked to win now is in the process of almost being completely dominated and destroyed as a nation, or destroyed as a community, whatever it is. It's a strip of land out there. I don't care what anybody has to say. I'm going to be totally politically incorrect on the situation. All these people who voted for Joe Biden to give $6 billion to Iran, you got blood on your hands, so I don't want to hear any one of you guys lecture anybody else out there, especially given your track record, seeing how it is that the policies that you voted for in these very, very liberal cities are getting your own kills. So do us all a favor and spare us the crocodile tears. While Israel may be getting a little bit more brutal than you might want them to get, and it's really funny too, because Kurt Schlier was complaining about this on Twitter earlier. He was saying, why in the world? Because there was a video was released of the IDF bringing in a few soldiers from Hamas, and they were like, why aren't you putting them down? Why aren't you killing them? Well, Kurt, the reason why the IDF is not doing that is because the IDF needs these people to talk. Now, how they get the information out of these people, I am not going to go too far into it, because I can already hear people say the enhanced interrogation and torture and all that type of stuff right there is bad. But then again, at the same time, being on a battlefield myself as one of the troops, I can tell you right now that you have to exact information out of people. So every now and again, you have to leave 1 or 2 of them alive, so that way you can get and gather additional intel. I figured somebody who was a colonel in the Army would know that, but apparently he does not, or maybe it just slipped his mind. I hear a lot of people run their mouth and talk about the actions that are coming from Netanyahu's regime with the IDF, and of course they're saying they're going to be targeting civilians and all that stuff there, and they're bombing out buildings that got people in them. I got to ask you a question. Did Hamas not just do something like that to Israel directly? This is this scene right here where you have these troops, falling out of the sky. The people were releasing videos of paratroopers, people gliding on it. It reminds me of a scene from the movie G.I. Joe, the movie. The old animated cartoon. You hear the song, crashing. I'm not going to sing it or anything like that. But it's always bothered me when you see paratroopers coming out of the sky, almost like in the movie Red Dawn, which, by the way, you're going to hear me mention again in a minute because of obviously the situation in the border, because obviously I did a video on Gear Issue 33 kind of calling the fact that if there was ever anything like that to happen in the United States, they would probably do it through the southern border. And, of course, we're witnessing that now. Don't worry, we'll get to hit that in a second. But when you got troops coming out of the sky, armed, about to go ahead and just start killing and wasting civilians, what do you expect the opposite side to do? What do you expect them to actually do? Like I said, I'm not condoning this. I'm just simply saying what it is. The vast majority of the American people, if they were to actually get into some form of conflict today, they would not be able to survive it. You got to get mean. You got to get tough. And in some cases, you got to take things to the absolute extreme, especially when you have actually been hit. Don't you guys think to yourself that maybe it's because we live here, maybe it's because they live here? I mean, when you attack somebody's home, chances are the people who lived in that home or the country of which that was just attacked, they're probably going to take it a step further, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 125 steps further to get down the point to you to not invade our home again. Here's the real concern. You see, I'm really and truly not as, how would you say, as hard up on this issue as you might would think. I know it probably sounds like I am. The reason why is because I know Israel's military capabilities. Israel is more than capable of completely wiping out anybody and everybody who attacks them. As long as you keep sending missiles to that Iron Dome, Israel is going to be able to defend themselves. It's not going to be a problem. Israel's military capabilities with the Merkava tanks, with the troops that they have. Remember, everybody in Israel is a military veteran. It's like the only country in the world right now I can think of off the top of my head that actually has everybody in the nation serving its military. And right now it's the country of about 6 million people, so you've got right around 6 million war veterans. But it's also 6 million combat veterans, or 6 million people that are actually ready to go to fight. However, it does baffle me for whatever reason that Israel decided to implement gun control, and they decided to do this at an extremely inopportune time. But still, though, that right there also makes me wonder, why in the world the Palestinians at this moment in time, why are they suddenly going for a truce? Why do they suddenly want one? Pay attention.
Going for a truce now.
Because they're losing, and they're going to lose worse than I think they expected. What they were counting on, Jack, is grabbing those hostages and using them to leverage a restraint response by the Israelis. Well, it didn't happen. It's not going to happen. Well, I think the Israelis, I don't know this for a fact, but I suspect the Israelis are working very diligently to try to find out where those hostages are, to try to rescue them, incidental to their upcoming combat operations. But they're not going to stop combat operations. And to your point, this is a very densely populated area, 2 million people in a very small side. And let me just point out something here. The Oslo II Accords from 1995 that was signed by the Israelis and the Palestinians said that if you live in peace, everybody's going to get along just fine. And that was the idea. Well, that idea is long gone, and therefore the Israelis now are going to be prepared to go in using massive firepower. This loss to the Israelis, Jack, was as significant, if not more than significant, than us during the 9/11 attacks. This came at the end of what they call the Yom Kippur. On the day of Shimchat Torah. I hope I'm getting that right. Yeah. And so this was all things that were planned by the bad guys. And let me say one other point that pertains to us. This should remove any argument against the Second Amendment. It is this very attack that happened because gun control is implemented to the level of progressive interest in Israel. That is to say, most civilians don't have guns. And therefore, that was a known factor by the Hamas terrorists. And that's why, Jack, they went house to house with impunity, murdering
He's 100% correct. That right there is Tony Schaefer. You can follow him on Twitter. He's a very, very smart guy, very up on things. He's one of the few people out there that's, let's just say, not as popular and not as well known. That's actually becoming more and more well known. He's a very, very smart guy, very intuitive, former Army officer. Just a guy who knows this stuff. Funny because, of course, now they're starting to see that gun control obviously does not work. As I've said before, an armed society is a safe society. It's one of the main reasons why nobody has ever tried to invade the United States. I mean, we have, 90-some-odd million registered gun owners in this country? Even if somebody's not militarily experienced, if they survive long enough, guess what? They will be able to fight back in some capacity or not. And guess what? They will also at the same time become a hardened veteran given the situation, given the circumstances. Fact of the matter is that the Israelis, they may, I guess you could say they've learned their lesson now. Everybody in that country needs to be holding a rifle, especially given the fact that everybody in the region that surrounds them already has an alpha them. So, yeah, maybe Netanyahu will learn from that. One more thing that Netanyahu should probably learn from, I wonder if he regrets this post at the end of the 2020 election. I'm just curious if he doesn't regret this, seeing how it was that the guy he congratulated just gave his biggest enemy $6 billion for them to then turn right back around and use to finance in the effort of Hamas to attack their homeland. And God knows how many Israeli civilians, how many Jews have been lost in the process. It is actually concerning. What is really and truly concerning about this? Well, I'm going to let this roll. I'll come back on the other end and kind of break it down for you a little bit further, because this border crisis that we've been having, which, by the way, I've been talking about this issue too, not only the fact that crime is going to be a problem, not only the fact that blacks and Hispanics typically tend not to really and truly get along, but pay very, very close attention to this next bit.
There has to be some sort of, look, everybody said 9/11, never forget, but apparently they did, because those terrorists came here and overstayed visas. Look, they've already arrested over 150 known and suspected terrorists trying to enter this country illegally since Joe Biden's been in office. We got 1.2 million gotaways. This is on camera, on video, drone traffic, not a guess, 1.2 million. They've arrested people from countries that sponsor terrorism. If you don't think a single one of that 1.2 million didn't come here to do us harm as a terrorist, then you're ignoring the data. This is a huge national security issue. I personally think it's the biggest national security failure since 9/11. I don't know how many terrorists came across that border that didn't get arrested, but someday we're going to find out, and it's going to be a bad day for America. I hate saying that, but that's just the facts.
Correct. That is 100% absolutely correct. I'll leave this video in the description box from Gear Issue 33. I advise you guys go check it out, because I decided to have a little bit of fun, and I decided to, say, look, could the Red Dawn scenario actually happen? Like, I'm pretty sure that troops will not be falling out of the skies like in that movie into the United States. But at the same time, though, when you have an open border, I mean, God knows who the hell could get in, especially given the fact that we're now finding out that the vast majority of these people who have actually entered the United States and are being sent to these very, very large cities are finding out that a lot of these people are actually from the Middle East. We kind of called this back in 2014, 2015, when Obama was letting people in. We kind of called it then. And these were all military-age males. And by the way, one more thing, too, before you decide to get on your high horse and blame Texas Governor Greg Abbott, like I've said in several videos, Greg Abbott, he may have sent these people to these areas, but Joe Biden could have put a stop to this a long time ago. He could have put his foot down, closed the border. He could have then turned right back around and ordered Abbott to stop. He could have done that. He could have filed some lawsuits against the state of Texas. He could have done anything in the world. He could have done anything as president of the United States to put a stop to this, but he obviously did not. Sounds to me like a case for treason. At least gross dereliction of duty. Take your pick. And let me ask you this really quick. Who do you think are the people who would be most affected by this? Seriously, who do you think would be the people most affected by this? The reason why I'm asking is because going back to those little protests, those pro-Palestine protests, those pro-Hamas chants, all the stuff that's going on in the cities, also not only in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, you get people who have these signs that say stuff like queers for Palestine. It's like saying, chickens for KFC or chickens for Chick-fil-A. These people really and truly are not very bright. As I have said on several occasions, their lifestyle is not exactly something that is put up with over there. So I have no idea why they sent for these people. But then again, at the same time, we did just have a journalist, a lib journalist, get killed in Brooklyn. And, of course, his girlfriend then turned right back around. Oh, by the way, interesting information on that one, too. Did turn right back around, and she's trying to get the person who killed her boyfriend released. Liberal sensibilities, people. Liberal sensibilities. These right here will be the first people who die in the revolution, and I think the Lord our God is telling us that right now. I'm not advocating or anything. I'm just simply saying that with everything that happens, there's obviously going to be something that goes that's going to respond to it. For for every action, there's an equal, if not greater, reaction. It's just the way that it is. Stupid is, stupid does, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So what is going to happen as a result of this? What is more than likely going to occur? Well, here we go. Right now, we've got a situation here in the United States, and I was listening to Razor Fist earlier, and he obviously was he's obviously much, much more talented than I am, and of course, at the end of his little rant, he gave a nice little spirited end, which I, of course, agree with. This entire ordeal is probably going to affect a lot of people. especially here in the United States, especially if you live in very, very big cities. Obviously, there's been some pro-Israel marches to go along with this, outside of some pro-Palestinian marches as well. At some point in time, people are going to clash. I would just go ahead and say right now that that is probably what's going to occur. You've got so many military-age males that are not Hispanic that were actually brought in by the Biden administration. They're now inside of our cities. And this right here is going to become a homeland risk. Of course, it's going to become a homeland security risk, of which, by the way, I don't think Biden really truly cares because he's already an extremely weak president as it is. He's not going to enforce any laws. The only thing he's going to do is he's going to punish you for speaking out against it. So New York, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, you guys are all great big giant hotspots now. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you probably are as well because of that airport. You got a lot of people coming in, a lot of people, especially Atlanta too. So now you're really going to have to keep your heads on swivels and be prepared for what is about to come. As far as does the United States get involved, I probably don't think that Joe will actually get involved outside of sending weapons. I understand that we have a fleet that is headed to Israel right now. That's a very, very good thing. Obviously, me being very, very pro-Israel. You can call me a shill if you want to in the comment section. I really and truly don't care, but when it comes to this topic here, I will go out of my way to say this right here is an ally that, quite frankly, we might want to actually protect and take care of. Not only am I saying that as a Christian, I'm also saying it because I actually feel for the people who live over there, regardless of who started, who did not. As I said before, this country right here is surrounded by a lot of people who really and truly do not like it. There are people who call for the death of America, the people who call for the death of Israel, which, by the way, when those people chant death to America, I think to myself, I'm really not that worried about it because I've heard it so many times. I've seen these people. I've seen what the hell these people do. These people, Hamas, you know what they do? They love to put civilians in front of them and use them as body shields. These are the same people who like to put improvised explosive devices inside dead animals. They did that to kill Marines. They did that to kill soldiers when I was in Iraq. And I could already hear somebody say, well, you were wrong for... Shut the hell up. I don't care what you have to say. I'm out here and say that it's a religion of peace. As I said before, these are the same people that will put a bomb in their child's hand and throw that youngin at one of our troops, one of our personnel. These are the same people who use human shields. Their wives, their girlfriends, their daughters. Don't come over here and tell me that these people are peaceful. Yes, I know I defended them when it came to the whole neighborhood stuff where they had the wokes and the woke school curriculum. I did that because I understand that if you really and truly, if there's a certain crowd in America that you really and truly don't want to piss off with wokeness, it's probably this crowd here that I'm talking about. But don't come over here and tell me that these people are innocent little babies. These people do what? Like I just said, they love to use humans as shields, and they are not hesitating to do so. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't surprise me if civilians that got killed in this entire ordeal were nothing more than human shields for the actual Hamas fighters. Of which, by the way, don't worry, they'll get theirs as well. So this right is what I'm going to say to end this. I believe that Israel will eventually, of course, they're already beginning, they will go into Hamas. They will kick the literal hell out of it. We will send weapons to Israel, which I do think Biden will at least do that. And I believe that Israel will completely destroy Hamas. They have added incentive to do so. Why not go ahead and do it? They actually struck your home. They actually killed actual Israeli civilians, even though they should have all been armed. But you've got all the incentive in the world to do so. And to go on top of that, now you got Hezbollah running their mouth wanting to get involved. So I expect something to happen. And meanwhile, you have the head of Palestine, like I said before, going to Russia. He's about to ask Putin for assistance. Yet Putin at this moment in time is not exactly what we call readily available. He's got a conflict going on in Ukraine. And while I do very, very much believe my Bible, I do very, very much believe that we're heading into the end times. This is Bible prophecy, Ezekiel 38:39. It seems more to me like an event that could just provoke the eventual inevitable. And that crap does not happen overnight. But then again, though, it is very, very weird time. So we shall see. And one last thing before I end this video. To Bibi Netanyahu, I want to say this, okay? I know that the YouTube algorithm has this little thing, this little funny thing about certain bits of language. So I'm going to try to airbrush this a certain way. I understand that maybe Bibi is a Zionist, maybe he's not a Christian, maybe he's not Messianic, and I'm not here to pick on him or anything like that. You guys know me. I'm not going to do that at all. But I want you to think about something real quick. I want you to go ask a minister. I want you to go ask what happened to King Saul. I can't tell the full story here because then YouTube will officially know exactly what I'm talking about. What I'm saying to you, Bibi, is do the opposite of what King Saul did when he was presented the problem by Samuel. I mean, we all would love to have a King David, but then again, at the same time, nobody wants to see anybody else get hurt or killed in the process, unless, of course, it's the actual enemy itself that you're fighting. So just keep that in mind. With that said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. I'm going to try to have some additional content out on Tuesday, so make sure you guys stick around for that. Also, give me you guys thoughts, even if it's negative. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. And, of course, if you know the story of which I just told, please say something as well. I would really and truly love to get you guys' thoughts and perspective on that. Share the video, pass it around to friends and family, post it to Facebook, and I'll see you guys later.